the Angola prison code that guards couldn't break for 23 years. The note appeared in the chaplain's office at 6:42 a.m. 3 words. Block letters. No signature. Stay with this story. What those 3 words exposed had been hidden in plain sight for over 2 decades. Angola State Penitentiary, Louisiana. 18,000 acres of former plantation land now holding 6,300 inmates. The largest maximum security prison in America. Most would never leave. Chaplain Robert Garrison had worked there for 7 years. He'd received plenty of notes from inmates. Confessions. Pleas for help. Threats disguised as prayers. But he'd never seen anything like this. Check the numbers. That's all it said. The paper was standard issue. The handwriting could have belonged to anyone. It had been slipped under his door sometime during the night shift. Garrison almost threw it away. He didn't. Something about the deliberate simplicity bothered him. Most inmate messages were desperate, emotional, filled with explanations. This one felt different. Calculated. He brought it to Deputy Warden Christine Hayes at morning briefing. Hayes had run operations at Angola for 12 years. She'd seen riots, stabbings, escape attempts. She'd watched men break under the weight of life sentences. She looked at the note for 5 seconds. Numbers for what? I don't know, Garrison said. But someone thought it was important enough to risk getting caught passing notes. Could be a prank. Could be someone trying to mess with new staff. Could be a warning. Hayes set the note down. I'll have security look into it. Probably nothing. That was her first mistake. The note came back clean. No fingerprints. Standard prison paper available to every inmate. The handwriting didn't match any recent disciplinary reports. Security filed it as unsubstantiated communication and moved on. But Garrison couldn't. He kept thinking about those 3 words. Check the numbers. What numbers? Inmate counts? Cell assignments? Commissary accounts? He started looking. Angola's daily operations generated hundreds of number sets. Head counts 3 times daily. Work detail rosters. Disciplinary reports. Medical records. Visitation logs. Everything ran on documentation. Everything had numbers. Garrison spent 3 days reviewing reports during his off hours. He wasn't trained as an investigator. He was a chaplain. But something kept pulling him back to that note. On the 4th day, he found something odd. The chapel attendance logs. Angola had 4 chapels serving different faiths. Attendance was voluntary but tracked for security purposes. Guards needed to know where inmates were at all times. Garrison noticed a pattern in the Catholic chapel logs going back 5 years. Every 3rd Sunday, the attendance count was exactly the same. 47 inmates. Not approximately. Not around that number. Exactly 47. Every time. For 5 years straight. That shouldn't be possible. Prison populations fluctuated. Inmates got transferred, released, sent to solitary. Attendance should vary. But it didn't. He pulled older records from the archive room. The pattern went back further. Much further. 15 years. Then 20. Every 3rd Sunday. 47 inmates at Catholic chapel. For 23 years. Garrison's hands started shaking. He checked the other chapels. Protestant services varied week to week. Muslim services showed normal fluctuations. Jewish services had small but changing numbers. Only Catholic chapel showed the impossible consistency. He brought it to Hayes that afternoon. This time she listened. You're saying 47 inmates have attended Catholic Mass every 3rd Sunday for 23 years? Not the same inmates. The count. It's always 47. That's statistically impossible. I know. Hayes pulled up the current roster. Who's been attending recently? Garrison handed her the latest log. 47 names. Mix of lifers, long-termers, a few short-timers close to release. Nothing obvious connected them. Different cell blocks. Different work assignments. Different crimes. Different races. Could be a coincidence, Hayes said. But her voice had changed. For 23 years? She picked up her phone. I'm calling an audit. Full review of chapel operations. The audit team arrived the next morning. 3 investigators from Baton Rouge. They interviewed guards, reviewed security footage, checked inmate movements. They found nothing wrong with chapel procedures. Security protocols were followed. Headcounts matched. No contraband. No gang activity. Everything looked normal. Except for the numbers. The lead investigator, a man named Bernard Chin, sat down with Garrison on day 3. "You found something nobody else saw in 23 years, Chin said. "But I need you to understand, we can't prove anything's actually wrong. Coincidences happen. Not like this." "Then help me understand what we're looking for." Garrison pulled out every third Sunday roster going back 6 months. "Look at the names. Cross-reference them with disciplinary records." Chin spent an hour running the data. His expression changed. "These inmates have almost no infractions," he said quietly. "Combined, 47 men. Over 6 months. Only 3 write-ups total. Is that unusual? For this population? It's nearly impossible. Angola averages 40 disciplinary reports per 100 inmates monthly. These 47 are invisible. They were hiding in plain sight. Model prisoners who never caused problems. Who attended chapel every third Sunday. Who kept their heads down and did their time. For 23 years, the group had rotated members seamlessly. When one got transferred or released, another took his place. Always maintaining exactly 47. Chin made a call to the warden. Within 2 hours, they had authorization to search the chapel. They went in after evening count. Full team. K-9 units. Structural engineers. The dogs hit on something in the sacristy. Behind a built-in cabinet that had been installed during the chapel's construction in 1978. The engineers removed the cabinet carefully. Behind it was a hollow space in the concrete wall. Inside that space was a metal box. The box contained notebooks. Dozens of them. Handwritten. Dating back to 2001. Records. But not prison records. These were different. Chen opened the first notebook. It was a ledger. Names. Dates. Amounts. Transactions. Thousands of them. They'd been running an economy inside Angola for 23 years. An entire shadow financial system with its own rules, its own currency, its own enforcement. And every third Sunday was settlement day. But when they checked the logs for who had access to the sacristy over the years, everything changed. Because the handwriting in those notebooks matched someone on staff. Someone who'd worked at Angola for 24 years. Someone nobody suspected. The handwriting belonged to Officer Marcus Thibodeau. 38 years old. Married. 2 kids. 24 years at Angola. He'd started as a guard at 19. Deputy Warden Hayes stared at the personnel file like it might explain something. It didn't. Thibodeau had a spotless record. No complaints. No disciplinary issues. He'd been promoted 3 times. Trained new officers. Served on the chapel security rotation for 15 years. Where is he now? Chen asked. Hayes checked the duty roster. Home. His shift ended at 2. Don't call him. I want surveillance on his house. And I need every security tape from the chapel for the last 6 months. The team worked through the night. The footage showed exactly what they expected. Thibodeau escorting inmates to chapel. Standing guard during services. Following protocol. But the angles were wrong. Every camera in the chapel had blind spots. Small areas where the coverage didn't quite overlap. The sacristy was in one of those blind spots. Someone had positioned those cameras very carefully 20 years ago. Chen pulled the installation records. Thibodeau had been on the security committee that approved the chapel camera placement in 2004. He built this, Hayes said quietly. The whole system. He positioned himself to control it. For 24 years? He was 19 when he started. Impressionable. Maybe an inmate got to him early. Chin shook his head. This is too sophisticated for a teenager. Someone taught him. They brought in a forensic accountant to decode the ledgers. What she found made everyone in the room go silent. The notebooks documented a prison economy worth an estimated $4 million over 23 years. Not cash. Angola inmates didn't have access to real money. They'd created something else. A credit system based on favors, contraband, and influence. Every transaction recorded in code. Names represented by numbers. Services tracked with symbols. It was brilliant and terrifying. Need protection? That cost credits. Need a job assignment change? Credits. Need a message sent outside? Need drugs, phones, weapons? Everything had a price. And every third Sunday, accounts were settled in the chapel's sacristy. Thibodeau wasn't just facilitating it. He was the bank. Hayes authorized a full lockdown at 4:47 a.m. Every inmate confined to cells. All movement stopped. Emergency response teams deployed. They arrested Thibodeau at his home at 5:15 a.m. He didn't resist. Didn't lawyer up. Just asked one question, "How'd you find it?" Chin showed him the note. "Someone wanted us to check the numbers." Thibodeau smiled. Not smug. Said, "Took you long enough." In the interrogation room, he laid it all out. He'd been recruited in his second year. Not by an inmate, by another officer. A veteran guard named Dale Rousseau who'd worked at Angola since the 1970s. Rousseau had built the original system. Small at first. Just cigarettes and favors. But it grew. When Rousseau retired in 2007, he passed it to Thibodeau. Why? Hayes demanded. "You had a career. A pension. A family. You know what guards make here? What it costs to raise kids. I did 24 years for the same pay as a Walmart manager." "So you sold out." "I survived. Just like everyone else in there." Chin leaned forward. "Who sent the note?" "I don't know." "You ran the system for 17 years and you don't know who turned on you?" Thibodeau's expression shifted. Something like fear crossed his face. "I didn't run it," he said. "I just maintained the books." "Then who ran it?" "Nobody. Everybody. That's how it worked. No leaders. No hierarchy. Just the code." "What code?" Thibodeau pointed at the ledgers. "The numbers. The rules. 23 years and nobody broke them. Not once." "Someone broke them," Chin said. "Someone sent that note. Then someone's about to die." The investigation moved fast after that. FBI involvement. State Police. Department of Corrections from Baton Rouge. They interviewed all 47 inmates who'd attended the last Catholic chapel service. Every single one denied knowing anything about the system. No ledgers. No code. No shadow economy. Just church. Just faith. The stories were identical. Too identical. "They're coordinated," Chin told Hayes. "Even now. Even with Thibodeau in custody." "How?" "I don't know. But this thing is bigger than one corrupt guard." The forensic accountant found something else in the notebooks. A section in the back. Different handwriting. Not Thibodeau's. Instructions. Written in 2001. The year the ledger started. Rules for maintaining the system. Never more than 47 active members. Settlement every third Sunday. No violence inside the system. No names. Only numbers. Trust the code. At the bottom of the page was a signature. Not a name. A number. Inmate 00001. Hayes felt her stomach drop. "Pull the records," she told her assistant. "I need to know who was inmate number 1 in this system." The assistant came back 10 minutes later. White-faced. "Ma'am, there's a problem." "What problem?" "Inmate 00001 according to the ledger dates, that would be from 2001. So find the roster from 2001. "I did. The man who matches this number was released in 2006. So track him down." "We can't." "Why not?" "He died. 2009, car accident in New Orleans." Chin stood up. "Then who's been running this since 2009? Nobody had an answer. The system had survived its creator. It had outlived the guard who maintained it. It had operated for 23 years with perfect consistency. And somebody inside Angola was still running it. Hayes ordered individual cell searches for all 47 inmates. The searches took 8 hours. They found nothing. No contraband. No hidden ledgers. No evidence of the shadow economy. It was like it had never existed. Except for one thing. In the cell of inmate number 47 on the current roster, a lifer named William Duchamp, they found a piece of paper. Tucked inside his Bible. 3 words. They know now. Hayes brought Duchamp to interrogation. He was 56. Serving life for second-degree murder. 22 years at Angola. He'd been attending Catholic chapel every third Sunday for 19 years. Did you write this? Hayes showed him the note. Duchamp looked at it calmly. No, ma'am. Did you write the original note? The one that said, check the numbers? No, ma'am. Do you know who did? No, ma'am. Mr. Duchamp, we have evidence of a 23-year criminal enterprise. We have Officer Thibodeau in custody. We have the ledgers. We know you were part of this. I attend Mass, ma'am. That's all. Why every third Sunday? It's when they offer it. 47 people. Always exactly 47. Duchamp smiled slightly. Faith is consistent. Chin slammed his hand on the table. Someone is going to take the fall for this. If you cooperate now. I have nothing to cooperate with. They held him for 6 hours. He never changed his story. None of them did. Hayes released him back to his cell at midnight. She stood in the empty interrogation room feeling like she'd lost something she couldn't name. They're protecting each other, Chin said. Or they're protecting the system. Without Thibodeau, the system is dead. Hayes looked at him. Is it? The next morning they got their answer. During routine inspection, a guard found another note. This time in the Protestant chapel. Same block letters. Same paper. Deputy Warden Hayes didn't sleep for 3 days. The note from the Protestant chapel changed everything. If the system had moved to a different location, it wasn't broken. It was adapting. FBI agent Chin brought in a behavioral analyst from Quantico. Dr. Sarah Lindholm specialized in prison sociology and organized crime structures. She read the ledgers in 4 hours. Her assessment was worse than anyone expected. This isn't a gang, she said. It's a constitution. Hayes leaned forward. Explain. Gangs have leaders. Hierarchies. This has rules. The system governs itself. No single person controls it. That's why you can't break it. Thibodeau controlled the ledgers. No. He maintained them. There's a difference. Look at the transactions. No approvals. No signatures from authority. Just records of agreements already made. Chen pointed at the notebooks. Then who enforces the agreements? Everyone. The 47 aren't members. They're witnesses. Guarantors. Every third Sunday, they verify the system is balanced. Like auditors. Like judges. Hayes felt sick. We've been looking for a criminal organization. But it's a government. A shadow government that's existed inside Angola for 23 years. Maybe longer. They brought in Dr. Lindholm to interview the inmates. She started with the oldest member still inside. Raymond Pierce. 68 years old. Life without parole. 31 years at Angola. He'd been attending chapel every third Sunday for 17 years. Mr. Pierce, I'm not here to prosecute you, Lindholm began. I'm here to understand. The system in the ledgers, how did it start? Pierce was quiet for a long time. You ever been to Angola, doctor? I've visited many prisons. Not like this one. This place was hell in the 80s. Guards were corrupt. Inmates ran everything through violence. You survived by joining a gang or dying. And the system changed that? The code changed it. Somebody, I don't know who, wrote rules that made sense. Fair rules. If you followed them, you were protected. If you broke them, you were out. Out meant what? You were on your own. No protection. No help. In a place like this, that's a death sentence. So the threat of exile kept people in line. Pierce nodded. Better than violence. The code said no blood inside the system. Disputes got settled through arbitration. Credits. Compensation. Civilized. But illegal. Ma'am, I'm serving life in the most violent prison in America. Legal stopped mattering a long time ago. Survival matters. The code gave us that. Lindholm made notes. Who sent the warning? The note that said, "Check the numbers." Pierce's expression hardened. "I don't know. But whoever did it violated the code." "Why?" "Because the first rule is silence. The system works because nobody outside knows about it. Whoever sent that note destroyed 23 years of peace." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Chaplain Garrison received another note. This one was different. Longer. It explained everything. The note was from an inmate named Marcus Webb. Not the same person as Officer Webb, just an unfortunate coincidence in names. He was 41, serving 15 years for armed robbery, 8 years at Angola. He'd been part of the 47 for 2 years. And he was the one who sent the original warning. Hayes brought him in immediately. Webb looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept since the investigation started. "Why?" Hayes asked. "Why expose the system?" "Because it was changing," Webb said. "The code was supposed to prevent violence. But someone started using it to enable violence." "Who?" "I don't know his real name. We only knew numbers. But number 12 started offering a new service 6 months ago. Contract enforcement outside the prison." Chin leaned forward. "Hits. Messages to people on the outside. Threats. Intimidation. Someone inside was coordinating with people outside to hurt families. Witnesses. That wasn't what the code was for." "And you broke silence because?" "Because my daughter lives in Baton Rouge. Number 12 approached me 3 months ago. Wanted to use my visitation privileges to pass messages. When I refused, he threatened her." Hayes felt the pieces falling into place. "You sent the note to stop him." "I sent it to stop all of it. The system was supposed to protect us from each other. But it turned into something else. Something dangerous. Do you know who number 12 is?" "He rotates. That's how it works. The numbers aren't permanent. They shift every cycle to prevent anyone from gaining too much power." "Then how do we find him?" Webb pulled out a piece of paper. He'd drawn a chart. Names, dates, transaction patterns from memory. "I've been tracking it for 3 months. Number 12 is always in the 3rd row during chapel. Always receives communion last. And he never makes eye contact with the chaplain." Garrison spoke up from the corner. "I can identify him." They reviewed 3 months of chapel security footage. Garrison watched every service. Noted every person who matched Webb's description. The pattern emerged after 2 hours. The man in the 3rd row. Last to receive communion. Eyes down. He appeared in 11 different services. But he wasn't the same person every time. 3 different inmates rotated through the position. "It's not one person," Garrison said. "It's a role." Chen pulled the identities. 3 men. Different backgrounds. Different crimes. But they all had one thing in common. Each had been transferred to Angola within the last 18 months. New arrivals. Dr. Lindholm saw it immediately. The system is recruiting. It's not just surviving. It's growing. Hayes made the decision that afternoon. She ordered all 3 men moved to administrative segregation. Isolated. No contact with other inmates. The lockdown would continue until they broke the network completely. But that night, something happened that nobody predicted. A riot. Not a violent one. A silent one. At evening count, 412 inmates refused to return to their cells. They didn't attack guards. Didn't destroy property. Didn't make demands. They just stood in the yard. Silent. Waiting. Hayes ordered the response teams to stand down. No force unless absolutely necessary. She walked out into the yard alone. 412 inmates watched her approach. In the front row stood Raymond Pierce. "What is this?" Hayes asked. "A vote," Pierce said calmly. "You took 3 of ours without cause. Without proof. Just suspicion. There's suspects in an ongoing investigation. They're protected by the code. And the code says they get a hearing before judgment. This isn't your prison to govern, Mr. Pierce." "No, ma'am. But it's ours to live in. And we've been living by the code a lot longer than you've been enforcing your rules." The standoff lasted 40 minutes. Hayes understood something in that moment that terrified her. The code wasn't just a criminal system. It was order. For 23 years, While the prison struggled with violence, gang wars, and corruption, the code had created stability for a significant portion of the population. The inmates following it weren't rebelling against authority. They were maintaining their own. Hayes made a choice. She agreed to a compromise. The 3 suspects would be interviewed by a panel. 3 guards. 3 inmates selected by the 47. If evidence of contract violence existed, they'd face prison justice. If not, they'd return to general population. The inmates returned to their cells. The investigation continued, but differently. The panel convened over 3 days. Dr. Lindholm observed every session. The evidence against number 12 was thin, circumstantial, based on Marcus Webb's testimony and transaction patterns. The 3 suspects denied everything, but one of them broke. Not from pressure, from conscience. His name was Leon Terrio, 34, serving 12 years for manslaughter, 14 months at Angola. On the 3rd day, he asked to speak to Hayes privately. "The code is real," he said, "but it's been corrupted." What was right? Someone high up, I don't know who, has been using the system for outside operations. I was approached to help. I refused. That's why I'm being accused now. They're cleaning house. Who approached you? I never saw a face. Messages came through the system. Coded. But the instructions were clear. Use your visitor privileges to pass information. Coordinate with people outside. I said no. Why tell me now? Because Webb's daughter isn't safe. None of our families are safe. If the system can reach outside, nobody's protected anymore. Hayes felt the weight of it settle over her. This wasn't just about Angola. It was about a network that had grown beyond the walls. The FBI expanded the investigation. They tracked visitors, phone records, mail correspondence. What they found confirmed the worst fears. Over the past 18 months, at least 7 violent incidents outside the prison connected back to Angola inmates. Witness intimidation, assault, 1 suspected homicide, all coordinated through coded messages in the system. The shadow government had become something darker. Chen brought the evidence to the U.S. attorney. Federal indictments came down within 2 weeks. 12 inmates. 4 guards. 3 civilians on the outside. The network started to collapse. But the code itself? It survived. 6 months after the investigation, Hayes sat in her office reviewing incident reports. Violence at Angola had increased 34%. Gang activity was up. Disciplinary infractions had doubled. The code had maintained order. And without it, chaos returned. She'd won the investigation. But she'd lost something more valuable. Marcus Webb was released early for cooperation. Witness protection for him and his daughter. Officer Thibodeau pleaded guilty to corruption charges. 7 years federal. The 47 disbanded. But the numbers never stopped. Hayes noticed it 3 months after the crackdown. Protestant chapel attendance. Every 4th Sunday now. Always 39 inmates. Exactly 39. Every time. She pulled the logs. The pattern went back 8 weeks. Someone had already started building it again. Different chapel. Different number. Different cycle. But the same code. Hayes called Chin. "It's happening again," she said. "Do we shut it down?" She thought about the violent statistics. The gang wars. The blood. "I don't know anymore." Chin was quiet for a long time. "Maybe the question isn't whether we can stop it. Maybe it's whether we should." Dr. Lindholm published her findings in a criminology journal 2 years later. The paper was titled, Self-Governance in Total Institutions, the Angola Code. Her conclusion haunted everyone who read it. When official systems fail to provide order, informal systems emerge to fill the void. The Angola Code operated for 23 years not because it was criminal, but because it was effective. It provided what the institution could not: consistent, predictable justice. The question facing corrections isn't how to eliminate such systems. It's why they're necessary in the first place. Raymond Pierce died in 2027. Natural causes. He was 71. His funeral was attended by 48 inmates. Not 47. 48. Hayes noticed. She pulled the chapel logs from the week before. Protestant service. 4th Sunday. 39 attendees. She did the math. 39 plus 48 is equal to 87. She checked Catholic chapel logs. 3rd Sunday. Back to the old schedule. 48 attendees now. 48 plus 39 is equal to 87. The system had split. Diversified. Adapted. It was still there. Just harder to see. Officer Marcus Webb, the real one, still works at Angola. He watches the numbers differently now. Looking for patterns in attendance records. Searching for the impossible consistency. Because he learned something that keeps him awake at night. You can't stop people from organizing. You can't eliminate the need for order. And you can't break a code that exists in the minds of hundreds of people who believe in it. The Angola Code survived because it solved a problem the system couldn't. It gave inmates something more powerful than contraband or protection. It gave them civilization. This could happen again. It probably already is. In prisons across America, shadow systems operate in silence. Some violent, some peaceful, all invisible, until someone decides to check the numbers. If this story shook you, the next one will be worse. Because the question isn't whether these systems exist. It's how many we haven't found yet. 4 words. The code still works.